Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. We're coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter/X. And Rustin is coming to us live from the Sunshine State in Florida. He's traveling for business right now. And so we appreciate him for the commitment to the podcast. Even when he's on the road, he's on there with us. So coming from a hotel room somewhere in Florida, Rustin, thank you for joining us this way.
Daytona Beach. It's currently I think a hurricane outside, so it's pretty interesting.
So we're hoping the Wi-Fi holds out for him.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a weird show tonight. We are certainly going to discuss Georgia because that is what this show is about. It's the Tennessee Georgia preview show. However, before we do that, and unfortunately, we'll probably have to mention this probably twice at least during the show because, people join us later and during the episode, and people hop on, that kind of thing. But if you were with us Sunday night during the Missouri Reaction show, the show kind of took a somber turn when we were informed from who we thought was our good buddy Zach, his sister. She informed us that Zach had kind of suddenly and unexpectedly passed away. Well, interestingly enough, the very next night we got a message from Zach, which would have been kind of creepy. But yeah. And Zach said, "Russ, Evan, whoever's receiving this," he goes, "I'm watching your show and I'm dead," which kind of cracked me up a little bit the way he worded it. But unfortunately, what had happened, and Zach has now confirmed this, and as we all know, because we're a Vol Bros family and we know what's going on in each other's lives, Zach had let us know that he had recently received a promotion at work. And so Zach was actually out of town on a business conference trip. And unfortunately, his ex-girlfriend used his login credentials and apparently logged into his different accounts and was attempting to try to receive, in Zach's words, a handout from people, and she almost succeeded. It was his words. So Zach was extremely apologetic, and he said, "I'm so sorry this happened." Actually, he already commented on our stream for tonight, this is impressive because this shows how sorry he is that this happened. He has already assured us that he has changed his passwords and everything since this happened, but he's actually at work tonight. Like, that was part of the promotion, was now he's working later on Thursdays. But he said, "I'm so sorry that my personal life crept into your show. Please forgive me, everyone. This should never have happened. I was so touched that I brought happiness to everyone on this channel for over a year." He said, "Please accept my humble apology and beat Georgia VFL." So here's what we're going to do, because Elijah, said, "Glad you're okay, Zach." He's not dead. That's the important thing. Zach is here.
It's a bad news, good news scenario. Bad news, we have to play Georgia Saturday. Good news, Zach's alive.
Absolutely. Doug said, "Glad to hear Zach is alive." Absolutely. So here's what we're going to do, because I was extremely impressed with the generosity of the Vol Bros family Sunday night and your all's willingness to support Zach's family when we all thought the worst had happened. Obviously we have documentation of who gave super chats and that kind of thing. We want to give that back to you because, what we were giving towards didn't actually happen, apparently.
We're not buying gifts for a funeral. So.
Exactly. So here's what we would like to do. If you were one of those folks who donated on Sunday night, if you could please email us at thevolbros@gmail.com, and I'm going to put that in the lower third. So if you can email us at this email address, thevolbros@gmail.com, and let us know how to Venmo you or something. We will give that money back to you. Because we want to be honest on here and upfront. And so Zach felt terrible that had happened. But we're just happy Zach's okay. We're happy Zach's okay. Already a couple comments coming in. The only 10 you see. So I'm still putting Zach in timeout for having a thing for Crazy Chicks.
We can just end the show now. I'm good.
But there's not going to be a comment better than that. That was, and it was sweet because the only 10 you see said when she watched the replay of our show, she was watching, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday from Sunday night. It brought tears to her eyes, which I almost brought tears to my eyes a couple times while we were watching or while we were going through it. But so just so we're all clear, that was not Zach's sister who was commenting. We now know that it was an ex significant other from Zach, his ex girlfriend, who, while Zach was out of town on a business trip, she was using his login credentials to try to mess with his life, essentially. And so, as we said, if you can please give us your Venmo or whatever, if you donate it, we'll be happy to send that money back to you. She said I bawled my eyes out. It's a family around here, absolutely, and so I appreciate that. Daniel said that's messed up. Yeah, it is. It is. It's unfortunate that someone would, trifle with literally human life. I mean, like, make a joke out of it, but that's what that the lady did, unfortunately. So, Oreo Puppy Dog said Zach is back. Awesome. Absolutely. So, speaking of Saturday against Georgia, Elijah said it's going to be my first time in Neyland. Can't wait for it. Oh, dude, that talk about a good first game to go to. Good night. That's going to be incredible. Zach said, I appreciate the love. Honor Georgia. I got a bold prediction. I would expect nothing less.
Yeah.
I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's why we love Zach right there.
Coming back from the grave.
Absolutely. Elijah, we hope that you have a fantastic first day in Neyland. I hope it's as loud as it could be. I'm afraid there's a lot of Tennessee fans selling their tickets right now. Hopefully Georgia fans do not pick those tickets up. But I hope it's as loud and it's as awesome as a time as it could possibly be for you. Tony said, if we play our A game and Georgia plays a C game, we might have a chance. But I don't think either will happen. Hope I'm wrong. Go Vols. Tony, I 100% agree with what you said. I 100% agree. And we'll get to that here in just a little bit too. So, Rustin, our first question of the night, what do you want to see on Saturday? 3:30 game on CBS, the last one ever for Tennessee. The last time we'll ever hear for Tennessee Vols. So a little bittersweet, but what do you want to see on Saturday?
4 Georgia turnovers, because I think that's the only way we can possibly win.
Ooh, I'm all for that. Sign me up. That would be fantastic. I didn't even think about that. That'd be wonderful. That's better than mine. So mine, I was just going to say, I want to see a one possession game in the fourth quarter. Like that's what I was hoping for. Because if it's a one possession game, then we got a shot. I mean, that's I think, the most we can hope for in this situation is if we go into the fourth quarter, it's a one possession game and, we even maybe tie it up at some point in the fourth quarter, then you're in it. You got a shot. So that's what I hope we see. But I love what you said, man. Turnover party. I love it for them, not us, hopefully. And you know what? There's potential, especially early in the game, that they could potentially, sneak out a turnover or two with, if it's loud and it's difficult, and for Carson Beck to do what he does, then there's potential there could be maybe a turnover, one or two here or there, especially early in the game. So, but then they got to capitalize on that too. So, I love that prediction. I think you're exactly right. Let's see. Vols time. Welcome, Vols time. Good to have you. He said, I believe Tennessee's going to land offensive tackle Jordan Seaton. He will be there this weekend, actually. And so, I mean, I hope it's an incredible atmosphere for him. I hope that we play well. And it's something that, I mean, my goodness, we all know they need offensive tackles for next year. We know that.
Yeah.
We need offensive tackles for this year for depth reasons,
Yeah.
but we know that. But Zach said he wants to see pressure in the backfield. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Oreo Puppy Dog. He said, I finally want to see the punter make a play. Absolutely. I mean, he's making plays, no doubt, with his leg by kicking it. We want to see him maybe run it or throw it for a change. I agree. Absolutely. And he wants to see the game called fair. I totally agree. There was an interesting stat that was released earlier today by a guy on Twitter, and he was, I think it was a national guy, and he was saying that right now, SEC, their opponents, they're like out of conference opponents, their penalties against their opponents have gone up by half a penalty per game. So they've actually called more against SEC opponents for everyone except Tennessee. Tennessee's, their opponents have been penalized 3 times less per game than previous season. I'm like, good grief, I believe that. Let's see. Zach said, if we see that, no chance Bowers catches the ball if they have pressure in the backfield. Well, I think Brock Bowers is going to get some catches, no doubt about it. He will. I mean, he's a playmaker. He's best, or arguably the best player in the game right now. So he will definitely make some catches. Elijah said, I want to see us run for at least 200 yards. If we do, I like our chances to win. Well, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, sign me up for that. If we run for 200 yards, that dramatically changes the game, because here's the deal. If we're running for 200 yards, that means we have the ball for pretty substantial time of possession, and that takes the ball away from them. So, I mean, that would be wonderful. And when I say substantial time of possession, I understand that's completely relative for Tennessee, since, you know, a 3-minute drive is a long possession for Tennessee. So, I mean, I get that. Let's see. The only Tennessee asked a really good question. She said, feel free to answer later. So I'll put a star on that one to come back to it.
I can answer it now if you want.
Okay. The only Tennessee said, feel free to answer later. What is Heupel's record when going into halftime down at least a touchdown? Want to know how well he does making halftime adjustments.
I can't speak to previous seasons, but this year he's only been down a touchdown at halftime once. Florida is the only game we've gone in down a touchdown. Against Texas A&M, we were down by 3, and against Missouri, we were down by 6. So if you count Texas A&M being down, he's 1-2 when behind at the half.
And then the flip side of that coin is Alabama. We were up 13 and got goose-egged in the second half. So, I mean, that's definitely a two-sided coin for sure.
Yeah.
But that's a very good question, because, you know, halftime adjustments have been a really big hot topic conversation around Tennessee football the past couple of weeks, no doubt. Daniel said, no first down for Georgia on 3rd and 27. Okay, maybe just one. Hey, that's a true Vols fan right there. He's been around long enough to see what we've all seen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tony said, I want to see a miracle. Let's get off the field on 3rd and long. Absolutely. Absolutely. Zach said about the game being called fair, no chance. And if you see under the ref's jersey, they have red underneath. They're wearing red undershirts. That was pretty good. Volstom said, should Tennessee slow down their offense? No, that's a great question. That's actually a really, really good question, because you would think we want to keep the ball away from them. But as we've seen, well, at least in my opinion, as we've seen throughout the whole year, Tennessee plays most efficiently on offense when they are going hype speed. And I mean the pun. Anytime they start slowing down, the offense bogs down. Anytime they're just flying down the field, they're getting first downs like every 1 or 2 plays, scoring touchdowns. We want to see them go fast.
You can also cover up injuries easier if you're going fast. You know, if the left tackle can't move well because he's injured, but all he has to do is just get in the way of the defensive end every play, it's an easy assignment. If he's having to slow down and stop and process and, okay, now I'm pulling, okay, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that, his body's also tightening up wherever he's injured. Blood flow is your friend.
All righty. So, Reston, who do you think is going to have a big game on Saturday for Tennessee?
I don't like this matchup at all. I looking at it, you go position by position, it's just not a good matchup anywhere. I think if we're going to force 4 turnovers, and I think that's the only way we can win is if we force 4 turnovers, then that means some combination of Tyler Barron, James Pierce, Amari Thomas, Elijah Simmons, let's just say the whole defensive line. Those guys are going to have to be havoc wreckers. Like they're just going to have to get back there and create all kinds of chaos. And if they don't get to the quarterback, it's going to be a real long day.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think I don't know. It's tough. Sometimes we may or may not go off of who we think's going to have a big game, but who needs to have a big game too. And I think that this week it's one and the same. I think this is going to be an Aaron Beasley game. It's time. It is time. It is past time. He needs to have a big game. They need him to have a Clemson Orange Bowl type game in this one. That game he had 4 or 6 tackles for loss. I can't remember. I think it was 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. I think is what he had that game. So we need him to make Carson Beck's evening less than enjoyable. That's what we need to happen. He needs to be all over Carson Beck. They need to, it's going to be loud in there. That Carson Beck has never taken a snap inside Neyland Stadium. He needs to realize that this place is different. And part of that is make him extremely uncomfortable by sending Aaron Beasley and whoever, Jeremiah Thielander, let him go after him. Just get after Carson Beck. That make him have a miserable evening. That's really the only way I think we got a shot in this situation. If he's not able to sit back and pick us apart, then we got a shot. And so that's who I think is going to have a big game is Aaron Beasley, because I think they're going to be sending him all the time. And you know what? High risk, high reward in that situation, because if he doesn't get to him, that leaves one extra open space on the field for a receiver to be open.
We can't cover him anyway. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Might as well go get him. We're so banged up in the secondary, and just to be blunt, their receivers are better than our DBs. They just are.
Oh, for sure.
So we can't cover him anyway. Might as well try and go get the quarterback.
Yep, absolutely. Tony said he wants to see our tight ends catching passes. Absolutely, buddy. Hey, we agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
We got 2 really good players there. We got Jacob Warren and McCallan Castles. Let them go be athletes. Let them go play. We totally agree, 100%. They're both got great hands. Let them go play. Doug said, seems like our defense is playing third and Chavis. Absolutely.
Well, the problem
has been for years.
Well, and the problem they have now is, and I hate to give Eli Drinkwitz any kind of credit because I can't stand that guy, but they've exposed us. Like, I guarantee you're going to see a lot of unbalanced formations, odd-looking formations where they stack one side of the field and they make us determine, are we playing zone or man? And you'll see a lot of unbalanced stuff where Brock Bowers goes in motion away from the strength. If a DB doesn't run with him, then they know we're in man. Guess who that means gets to cover Brock Bowers in space? Elijah Herring. If the DB does go with him, then we've told him, he's basically balancing the field. So we've told him we're playing zone. So then they just attack the strength because they've got us outnumbered. So as a result, Tim Banks is probably just going to have to play zone the whole game to hide Elijah Herring and not allow him to have to cover anybody. And again, it's going to come down to, can the 4 defensive linemen get to the quarterback? I think they probably will send Aaron Beasley quite a bit, because what's it matter if we're playing zone? Might as well go. But I think we're going to have to just play zone the whole game and hope Carson Beck throws it to us.
Oreo Puppy Dog said he thinks Joe Milton's going to have a big game if Joe is mobile and runs. And I would say I agree with that. And I add a little caveat to it. If he's decisive when he runs, if he sees massive lanes open up and he just takes them instead of waiting and then, going, because then those lanes are going to be gone. And so if he sees green grass in front of him, he needs to take it. I mean, that's the bottom line. Because first downs, I'm sure, will be at a premium. Our offense last year was better than it was this year, and we only scored 13 points the whole game last year against them. So first downs will be at a premium. Let's see. Doug said, do we still have that Mustang package on defense?
Not when we're playing zone. You go Mustang when you're going to play man. Can't send guys when you're playing zone.
Vols Time said Tennessee should add the old wishbone formation.
That would actually kind of be interesting to see. I would almost like to see Josh Heupel running the wishbone out of no huddle. That would be fascinating.
The only 10 UC said Heupel has to open that playbook stat. Playing it safe guarantees a loss. I agree. Just need us to go down swinging. Amen. Yeah. Oh, man. So that's okay. I'm glad you said that, because if we're in a 3rd and 18 situation or something like that, or 3rd and 20 something, we have multiple times this year, and it's the first time I've ever seen him do it. But I can think of at least 3 times, maybe 4, at least 3, where we were in 3rd and really, really long, and we just handed the ball off up the middle, conceding the fact that we were not going to get a first down. Now, you can't have a dude that can throw the ball almost the whole daggone field and just concede it, especially in games like this. At least try to throw the ball 20-something yards and get a first down. I mean, at least try. So, my goodness, throw it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Or just send them deep and throw it. If they
That's
intercept
exactly what I was
it
about to say.
If they intercept it in the end zone, how's that any different than a punt?
Yeah,
just
it's
take
arm
a shot.
Punt. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Send them deep. Let them chuck it. Throw that thing deep. And like I said, if they intercept it, well, big whoop. I mean, Joe can throw it farther than Jackson Ross can kick it.
Yeah.
So let him throw it. I mean, if it's like 3rd and 20 and we're snapping the ball on our own 25-yard line, Jackson Ross cannot kick it to the other goal line. Joe can throw it that far. So let him throw it. And then if it doesn't work out, then you can punt it. But I mean, just let him, don't just concede the first, the play on a 3rd and 20 by running the ball at the middle and you get 7 yards and then they tackle you.
Right.
Don't do that. Try to do something. That's my thing. You got a guy who can throw it out of the stadium. Let him do it. Let's see. Daniel said on Bowers, did his injury hurt his draft ranking? I almost feel like his freakishly quick return was a break even or could possibly improve his status. I know that sounds crazy.
Actually, I agree with that.
It doesn't sound crazy to me.
I think he just sent a message to the entire NFL that he heals fast. And, if we think college players get dinged up, NFL players get injured constantly. So to be able to basically have visible proof that your body heals quicker than most, that actually probably helped his draft status.
And let's look at his game last week. It's not like he came out and was terrible. He was good. Like he
looked like he hadn't missed anything.
Yeah. I mean, defenses were still having to honor him and, cover him and leaving other receivers open. I mean, absolutely. Tony said, I think we get after Beck like we did Bryce Young last season. Jeremy Banks got after him all day. We got nothing to lose. Blitz him. Totally agree. I mean, listen, we're out of the race for the SEC championship game. I mean, try to win this game. I mean, go after him. I totally agree.
Yeah.
The only thing you see said, are we getting beat by these confusing formations because of the talent and IQ of our players? You know, what's going on? So Rustin, you can answer, and then I got to answer too.
We're not getting beat because of lack of knowledge. We're getting beat because of lack of athleticism. They're scheming our worst players to be on their best players. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We talked about it Sunday night. Elijah Herring is directly responsible for 21 of Missouri's 36 points. You hate to say it, but when you watch it back, it was him. And pretty much only him. So kudos to Missouri for figuring out how to scheme formation and motion to get Elijah Herring in difficult positions where he has to make a play. He's not very disciplined. He overplays things. He doesn't do his job, and gets him in a lot of difficult positions. I wouldn't even say that the rest of the defense is the ones getting beat. Like, everybody else is pretty much doing their job. It's pretty much one guy. And the issue we have is there's no Arian Carter and there's no Keenan Peely. So when he's getting out of alignment, our next option is Jeremiah Thielander.
So I go back to what Jimmy Dykes said. He said, just because you're 1 year older doesn't mean you're 1 year better. And, last year, the weakest part of our defense was obviously the secondary. For the most part, it's the exact same guys back there this year. We have probably the oldest secondary in the league. And the reason that is because they hadn't been good enough to be drafted yet. And so they keep coming back for their fifth year, their COVID year. So we got a bunch of 6-year guys back there, which means they know the game really, really well. But And I will say this: they are better than they were last year, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
I think Gabe Jeudy-Lally played great against Missouri. When you watch it back, I think he did an excellent job the whole game.
I totally agree. I was just about to say, adding him was a huge addition to that defensive secondary. But I mean, it's still, the same guys that when you go up against the most elite players, like a Luther Burden, or, Jamison Williams from Alabama last year, it's hard to cover those guys because they're just better. But
we're going to see 3 or 4 of those guys this Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. Doug said, hopefully we'll be the most physical team on Saturday. I agree. I hope we are. That's where the game. Hey, we saw last week. That's where the game's won, in the trenches.
Yep.
They were opening up holes that 4 different guys couldn't line up side by side and run through, especially one guy. So, yeah, that's where it's won. Daniel said we need to hide Elijah in the locker room. Let's see.
There's just so little depth at that position. I mean, if Jeremiah Thielander gets out there and lays an egg and doesn't play well, we're going to have to go right back to him. And, don't think Mike Bobo hasn't identified a whole playlist of plays to put Elijah in binds.
I like Raines' idea here. That's going to be a fun game if Raines is coaching. I like this. So we need to adopt the Austin Peay strategy. Nothing to lose. Blitz all night, deep shots, 4th downs, fake punts. Team playing at home with not much pressure, nothing to lose as a wild card. I agree, man. Absolutely. Hey, I'm pumped up after hearing that.
You got nothing else. I mean, it's like he said, there's nothing to lose. Why not? Do it.
Absolutely. Zach said, I think the 3-headed monster in the backfield will have a great day. Boy, I hope so, man. I hope so. I hope they do. We need them to. No doubt. Let's see. Oh gosh. So Daniel said Jackson Ross can kick a catchable ball. Yeah, I got you.
For those of you listening, that was in response to Evan saying Joe Milton can throw it farther than Jackson Ross.
Can kick it, yeah. Absolutely. That's very true. Very true. Unfortunately, they don't let us keep the ball whenever we catch it off Jackson's foot. Let's see. Rain said Herring and Slaughter will be targeted. Herring looked like he had 20-pound ankle weights on for the Missouri game. Yeah, there's one play in particular that it wasn't good for sure.
At the risk of sounding like Butch Jones, it's eye discipline. He sees too much. He flies around and watches too much. He doesn't do his job. And if he would just do his job, he wouldn't be in as many difficult situations as he puts himself in.
Tony said, I know it's not all on them, but I'm tired of our slow safeties. So that's interesting. I think you might actually see a little bit of Jordan Murphy a little bit more this game.
Jordan Thomas.
Yeah, Jordan Thomas. Sorry, yeah. I think you might see a little bit more of him this game.
Jordan Thomas played really well. When you watch that Missouri game back, he did a heck of a job. He was tough.
Zach said, I know we're talking football, but watching Tony V get hyped up for the game tells me we have a chance. He was at Bama.
I don't know.
Tony V.
Go ahead.
He gave, if you haven't yet seen it, go on Twitter. You'll find it really quickly. Just type in Vitello, and it'll be probably the first 8 of the first 9 things that show up on your Twitter search of Tony Vitello talking about Dolly Parton coming to Neyland Stadium this week, which Dolly will be there. Apparently she's singing Rocky Top. My guess is that will be at halftime, but I don't know. It could be different, but Dolly will be there. And so Tony was pumped up about having Dolly Parton there.
Todd Helton's going to be there too. He's doing the ribbon cutting on the new construction on the baseball stadium. But if you haven't heard it yet, the most important thing that Tony said today, and it kind of stunned me when he said it, he said that this signing class that just got ranked, depending on the service you look at, some people have them as high as number 2 class in America. He said this is the most draftable class they've ever gotten at Tennessee. When you think about the talent that he's brought in, he just told everybody that this is the most talented group of players he's ever signed.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially when you include like the transfers in this class, like Cannon Peebles and all those guys.
Billy Amick.
Yep. Volstime said, what do you think about Josh Dobbs and the Vikings? Mind-blowing. It's incredible. And it could not have happened to a nicer guy. Him and Hendon Hooker both.
I don't know if you saw it.
Nothing but success for them.
I don't know if you saw it or not, but NFL Films had a video clip this week. Josh Dobbs still doesn't know half the players' names, but he's already memorized the entire playbook. And there was a play this past Sunday where Kevin O'Connell told him the play and then asked him if he needed it again. And Josh said no, he had it. He had already, Kevin O'Connell didn't believe Josh would know this play call yet, and he already had the whole thing memorized.
He's fascinating. I mean, he's just a fascinating guy.
It's incredible.
What he has been able to do is shocking. I mean, especially in the first half of this past week. That's just incredible what he did in the first half. Let's see. Oriole Puppy Dog said Dobbs looks great. Absolutely. Tony said Jordan Thomas played star after T-Mac went out. Correct. He did fill in for Tamari McDonald. That is correct.
Yep. And I haven't seen an injury update on Tamari McDonald, so we may see a lot more of Jordan Thomas than normal. He may actually start at the star.
Zach said, or excuse me, Rain said, any chance Peely will save the day on Saturday? No, unfortunately not.
And you shouldn't want him to. Right now, he's still eligible for a medical red shirt, and all people close to him are saying that's the route he's going to go. That's awesome. Come on back. We'll take that every day of the week.
I wonder how old he will be next year. I bet he'd be the oldest player in the SEC.
Probably.
Because, he probably went on a 2-year mission, and then he's already done 5 years. I bet he might be 26 years old next year. He might be like one of the oldest players in the league.
I feel like, I'll tell you in a second. I I feel like he's 26 already.
He might be. But so to answer that, I mean, this is his 6th year.
He's 25.
So he's 25 right now. So he, I think he knows he needs to come back next year so that he can prove to the NFL what he can really do. Because I mean, he had less than one game on tape this year against Virginia. So he needs to come back for his own financial future. I mean, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he knows they've got 2 games and a bowl game left. So he's not going to risk all of next year for those 3 games. The only Tennessee said, how many players can we expect to come back next year? Well, that's a great question. We should probably do like a whole episode just on that after the season. But I mean, when you think about the offense, the guys who will definitely not be back are Joe Milton, Ramel Keaton, and John Campbell.
Probably Brew.
Brew could if he wanted to.
Right.
But
he'll probably get a good draft grade. I would say he's gone.
So, that's who would have to go on offense. On defense, Jalen, almost the entire secondary. Gabe Judy-Lawley can return if he wants to. But Jalen McCullough, he can't. He's played all of them.
Wesley Walker's done.
Danico
Slaughter probably still has his COVID year. He could probably come back.
Daniel said Reigns, no, he can't come back because he's not this season. Peely can't come back this season because he's coming back next season.
Right.
He has a medical red shirt that he can use. On defense, you're going to lose a lot. You're going to lose way more on defense than offense. That's the thing. Everybody's saying, just wait till next year. No. If there was a year, it was this year.
So I saw, actually, it's funny she asked that question because I saw a report today that surprised me. Omari Thomas still has a COVID year. If he wanted to, he could come back. And I saw a report today that said he's strongly considering returning.
Well,
Bryson Eason will definitely be back. Technically, Tyler Barron could come back if he wanted to. I think he'll probably go. Omar Norman Lott will get a really high draft grade. He's gone.
And he can't come back even if he wanted to. Yeah, so he can't even if he wanted to. So he's gone. Jalen McCullough's gone. Aaron Beasley's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know about Tamari McDonald.
He's got another year.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be back. But Wesley Walker will be back. Kamal Hadden, I'm not sure on him.
Wesley Walker should be done.
But I mean that'll be a good topic for right after the season.
Yeah,
that'd be real good. Let's see. Tony said, "Oh, there's a fun question. Who would you guys want to play in the bowl game? Any matchup you want to see?" Oh, that's a really good question. You know what? Unfortunately, it's hard to answer that because it all depends on what happens with Ole Miss this week and next week with them, how their season finishes. Because right now, Ole Miss and Missouri are going to end up with a much better bowl game than Tennessee's going to end up with. And so they're going to take, Alabama, assuming Georgia wins out and they're in the playoff and Alabama doesn't get in the playoff because of that. Alabama, Ole Miss, and Missouri are going to take the 3 best bowl games available for SEC teams after the playoff, which means Tennessee, unfortunately, will get stuck in the category of the Outback Bowl,
Gator
Bowl, Music City Bowl, like those bowl game, that level of bowl game.
I'd be really surprised if they would accept the Music City because we already played at the Titan Stadium this year.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I don't see them accepting that. I think they'll probably leverage something to get one of those Florida Bowls, either Outback or Tax Slayer Gate or whatever they call it now.
But
Yeah.
I mean, well, and here's the other side of that coin is those bowl games have first dibs in that round,
Right.
and they know how well Tennessee fans travel, so they're seeing dollar signs. They'll want to be having Tennessee down there.
And both of those bowls line up against Big Ten opponents, and they know the middle of the Big Ten sucks. So they've got to find a team that will have a big draw because whoever comes from the Big Ten won't.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, like we can already pretty much guarantee that it won't be Michigan or Ohio State. Both of them are going to be either in the playoff or New Year's Six bowl games. Penn State will probably be in a New Year's Six bowl game, but if not, then they're going to be against Ole Miss or Missouri, whoever probably Missouri. So I mean, it's after that you're looking at Iowa. Like Tennessee may be matched up against Iowa in a bowl game.
Good news is if we kick a field goal, we win.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, sign me up for that. It'll be just fun to watch Tennessee flapping down the field on them all day long. That'd be fun. But I know that wasn't the question. The question was, who do you guys want to play? It's a hard question to answer because you're just relegated to whatever is available. You know what I'm saying? So
I was just looking at CBS's bowl projections, and next to the Gator Bowl, they have Big Ten versus SEC, and it says Tennessee versus North Carolina. Somebody should probably alert CBS that North Carolina is not actually in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I would actually like to see Tennessee play North Carolina because I know they're not in the Big Ten, but I would like to see that. That was one of the teams I was thinking about to say, who do you want to play? Well, North Carolina might be in that range of teams that we potentially could play. And I'd like to see that because that'd just be a fun game to watch. It'd be a whole lot of offense in theory.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Vols Time said, do you believe Mississippi State should reach out to Tim Banks for coaching position? No, and I don't think that Mississippi State will. Mississippi State is the most bizarre case in the world right now because even though Rustin and I were assured repeatedly by their fans that they were going to win at least 8, if not 10 games this year, I don't know, they missed that somehow. But here's the thing. They went from a very offensive-minded coach to a very defensive-minded coach. I mean, you tell me how much sense this makes. Will Rogers was going to break the SEC all-time passing yards record this season. It was going to happen. Until Zach Arnett took the ball out of his hands repeatedly. Their first game, you have the SEC's one of the leading passers in the history of the conference. In the first game of the season, he threw the ball 13 times. He went from throwing it 50-something times a game to 13 times the first game of the season. I mean, it's unreal. So I would highly expect them to flip that book again and go right back to an offensive-minded coach. That's what I would expect.
So here's why the Gator Bowl has North Carolina listed. So apparently the Gator Bowl has signed a contract where every 6 years they will always have an SEC team, but every 6 years they have flexibility to take either 3 Big Ten or 3 ACC teams, depending on who's going to be the best option for them in that year. But they have to have 3 each over a 6-year span.
So it could be North Carolina.
Yeah, Fox Sports is actually saying they think it'll be Tennessee Miami in the Gator Bowl.
Ooh, that'd be fun. That'd be cool. Zach said Bruce coming back. Russ have the faith. Nico for weapon for Nico. Let's see. Tony said Vols time they can have Banks as far as I'm concerned. Robert said, do you think Cooper Mays will be back next year? I agree. Rustin, why do you think he'll be back?
He won't get drafted. He's undersized. The NFL covets measurables more than anything else. And, undrafted free agent money can be matched with NIL. Tennessee can make sure he comes back.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's laughable really because the knock against Cooper is his size. But even experts like Cole Kubelik say he's the second best center in the league right now in SEC. So I mean, like he's straight up good, and since he won't be drafted, probably, Rustin is totally right. Tennessee can provide NIL money that will certainly match what he would have received, and so that's going to be a huge addition next year. Is having him back. That is a big deal, huge deal. Daniel cracked me up. He said Jackson Ross is a 24-year-old freshman. Yeah, that is true, actually.
Yep.
So in a few years, he'll be the oldest guy in the league. Let's see. Zach said next year will be a good year for people like Arion Carter to step forward. No doubt about it. Absolutely. Daniel said he thinks Cooper comes back. He's got unfinished business. Vols time makes a good prediction. He said they could play Notre Dame.
So that was the other thing in that Gator Bowl deal was on the 3 years that they can choose an ACC school, Notre Dame counts. So it is possible that they could do Tennessee Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl.
Let's see. Zach said, hey, if we play Iowa, it'll be a Field of Dreams game. That's pretty funny. Speaking of Iowa, one thing Todd Blackledge said a couple weeks ago when Iowa played, who was it they played in Wrigley Field? I can't remember. Northwestern? Was it Northwestern?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they played Northwestern at Wrigley Field, and there was 10 total points scored in the game. And Todd Blackledge said the Chicago Cubs played 6 games this year where they scored more runs than both teams had points in the football game. It cracked me up. That was great. Let's see. Zach Wimley. Welcome, Zach Wimley, new person here. I appreciate you joining us. Said, what do you think about Michigan sign stealing? I think something must have happened today, buddy. Because here's the thing. When we all woke up this morning, Michigan was supposed to be in court tomorrow in a hearing to try to get Jim Harbaugh back on the field Saturday. And then around noon, a little after noon today, Michigan accepted his 3-game suspension.
Yeah.
So something happened either late last night or early this morning where some info came out and the University of Michigan was like, oh, we do not want to go to court tomorrow.
Yep.
And so something happened.
Somebody flipped.
Yep, that's exactly right. Somebody found out something. And that is why Michigan has now accepted their punishment. So yeah, I don't know what happened, but something happened. Somebody found out some info. So Jim Harbaugh will not be on the field the rest of the regular season. The earliest he'll be back is if they make it to the conference championship game, he'll be back for that. But if not, it'll be a bowl game. Let's see. Tony said Nico should give Brew a big chunk of his NIL money to come back. It would help Nico actually if he did.
So Daniel's
target.
That next comment by Daniel, that is actually, I think that's probably what happened.
So Daniel said they've got to have big dirt on Michigan. They're offering players immunity, and that makes zero sense to me.
So that came out 2 or 3 days ago. The NCAA investigators, some of the Michigan players went public and told the media that the NCAA was offering them immunity. Well, the NCAA doesn't just randomly show up with investigators and go, hey, if anybody knows anything, we'll offer you immunity if you tell us. That's leading. They only go to players and say, we'll offer you immunity if you'll tell us what you know, if they know that player knows something. Like they're not, they've got a credible lead that has told them, talk to this kid, offer him immunity because he knows this, this, and this. So the fact that that whole scenario changed and Jim Harbaugh announced he's going to take the suspension and okay, we're done, tells me that one of those players took the immunity.
Absolutely. Yep. Somebody found out something this morning. No doubt about it. Zach said, it's kind of silly because it's only 3 games. It's just like a little slap on the wrist. And yeah, you're right, Zach. It is a slap on the wrist. But
except he's not coming back. I mean, we all know that. He's not going to be at Michigan next year. He's going to go to the NFL. So essentially what they've done is they fired him 3 games early.
Let's see. Robert said, I would say Michigan was worried about the FBI and what could have happened. That is correct. I agree. I totally agree. What's interesting, though, is the statement that they put out today after they announced that they were accepting the 3-game suspension was specifically about the Big Ten investigation. They said they are continuing to cooperate with the NCAA investigation. So apparently they're more afraid of the Big Ten punishing them than they were the NCAA.
And they should be, because the Big Ten had more evidence. The NCAA was coming to the Big Ten asking for assistance because the Big Ten had more information.
So that just shows you people do not respect or fear the NCAA in college football.
But that whole conference sure got together on that one. Like they flipped on them in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we're 52 minutes into the show, so why don't we do our last part of the show, our score prediction. So what do you think's going to happen on Saturday, Rustin? You want me to go first this time?
Sure.
Okay. So I've thought a lot about this. If you had asked me last Friday before I saw us play Missouri what I would think about tomorrow, I was still drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I was like, there's just something about it. There's just something about it. We're going to win. I can feel it. But then I saw us play Missouri. And all the Kool-Aid ran out. You cannot just get absolutely manhandled by Missouri and expect to come out to play this game and win. It just can't happen. Georgia is the best team in the country. I mean, without a doubt. I agree. I mean, without a doubt, it's them. They're the best team in the country. I do think they will get off to a little bit of a slow start because I do think it is going to take them a second to adjust to the noise level in Neyland. I think that will impact the first couple drives. And really, Tennessee's only shot is if one thing that Heupel has consistently done is he starts fast. Every possession, it seems like every game, the first possession they score somehow. Of the 10 games so far this season, I think they've now scored on the first possession of the game in 7 of the 10. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. If they can score touchdowns on the first possession of the game and, I mean, potentially hold them to 0 or 3 points, and then especially if they can score on the second possession of the game and they've got a 2-score lead, maybe we can hang on to that. Maybe. But ultimately, I think it's going to be 34-17 Georgia. That's my prediction.
So I said we needed to turn them over 4 times to win. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it too, and comparing positions and thinking through possessions and how many possessions we'll score versus how many we'll get, how many they'll score versus how many they'll get. I'll be honest, I think they're 3 touchdowns better than us. And that's why I said we need to turn them over 4 times, because I think we need to eliminate 4 possessions for them, just to make it close. I think they beat us 41-20. If we can somehow find a way to turn them over 4 times, if we turn them over 3 times, it's an even game. We turn them over 4 times, we can win. But the reality is their running back game has gotten better and better every week.
Yes, it has, for Georgia.
Yeah, the receiving core has continued to get better and better every week. We have no one who can cover Brock Bowers. No one. And their offensive line is one of the best in the country. They should be considered for the Joe Moore Award. Their defensive line is just consistent. They don't make mistakes. The linebackers and DBs are all very good. They're just better. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They're just better.
I like what the only 10 UC said. She's used to my predictions. Sometimes I can get very specific in my predictions. She said Evan's prophecy begins. I like that when I started saying that. Zach said he's ready for his bold prediction. Doug almost had the exact same score I did. Doug said 35-17. I said 34-17. That's pretty close there, man. Doesn't get any hardly closer than that. Daniel said his bold prediction is we score 0. Daniel, are you saying that we score 0 points or Georgia scores 0 points? I'm betting he's saying we score 0 points. But let's see. Robert said, I'm afraid to say anything about this game after last week.
Yep, that's true.
Let's see. Vols Time said Tennessee needs to try to lock down Georgia's tight ends no matter what. Now, we can try, but unfortunately, it just ain't. I mean, Brock Bowers is. If Brock Bowers hadn't gotten hurt, I think he'd be the front runner for the Heisman right now.
Yep.
But I mean, he's so good.
Even if he doesn't win the Heisman, it's because the Heisman's a stupid award. The best player in America is Brock Bowers, period. You go to any NFL franchise and say, who's the best college player in America? And every one of them will go, oh, that's Brock Bowers. It's just not – he's a man among boys.
Zach Wimley said 28-14. I'm assuming that's Georgia. The only thing you see asked about ticket sales, we're going to come back to that because that is a thing that's happening right now.
And everybody else also – and everybody else also needs to understand, okay, let's remove Brock Bowers from the Ole Miss game. Okay. Brock scored a touchdown. Okay, take that touchdown off the board. Georgia still wins 45-17. And Ladd McConkey, Dominic Lovett, Ra Thomas, and Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint combined for 8, 10, 11 catches for a little over 11 catches for a little over 200 yards. So even if you lock Brock down somehow, the other 4 guys are just going to do whatever they want. Like, there's just so many weapons out there. It's ridiculous.
Tony said Vols 17, Georgia 41. It breaks my heart. Yeah, I understand, man. Totally. I get it. I understand. Yeah. Back from the dead, and I'm loving it. He said it's going to be like last year Bama game, a back and forth game. We will win 49-42. Vols win, baby. Let's go 15-0 at home. Absolutely, Zach. That's what I'm talking about. See, Zach, this is why we love you, man. Absolutely.
Are we sure Zach's alive? That could be a prank.
I'm loving it. Zach makes a good point. The Vols currently have a 14 home game winning streak. Josh Heupel is also like 7-1 on games after a loss in his Tennessee career.
Do you want me to give the stat?
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No, there's not. You want me to give the stat? Like, you want to talk numbers? Because we're still tracking this. Under Kirby Smart, Georgia, when they score 30 or more, is now 67-1.
That's not good.
No.
Tony said, Daniel asked a good question. I started. I'm going to come back to it here in a second. Tony said, we have no one who can cover any Georgia tight end. That is accurate, actually. I agree.
Nope.
I agree with that. Oreo Puppy Dog said 41-10 Georgia, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair prediction too. Ooh, Vols time. 21-17 Tennessee. Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Tell the bartender it's time to cut it off.
I love it. I hope it happens. Zach said y'all gonna feel awful when I'm the only one who picked the Vols to win.
No, Vols time's with you.
Vols time's with you. That's right. Let's see. Doug said, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Sunday night. Great show and go big. Hey, we appreciate that, Doug. Thank you so much, man. We're glad you joined us. Zach, I don't understand this one. 67-2 on Saturday.
67-1 when they score 30 or more.
Oh, okay. I got you.
He's saying they're going to score over 30 and lose.
I love it. I'm so glad you're with us, Zach. I'm so glad. And just so we're all clear, because I said I'd have to say it at least twice, once at the beginning, once at the end. If you were with us,
just so we're all clear, Zach's not dead.
Zach is not dead. Thankfully, we are very thankful for that. Unfortunately, Zach's account was hacked by an ex-girlfriend Sunday night while Zach was out of town on a business trip, and she was trying to mess with his life basically, and posted some erroneous information about Zach. And so she said he was dead. And so
and he's not.
Thankfully. But if by some chance you donated Sunday night, Zach said, I'm kicking and living, enjoying life. And we are thankful for that. If you donated on Sunday night, we need you to email us at thevolbros@gmail.com, and we will, email us with how we can get that money to you that you donated, whether that's Venmo or whatever. We'll be happy to send it to you. So please email us and let us know so we can give you that money back if you gave us a super chat on Sunday night.
So Zach, I got to tell you a funny story that I'm guessing everybody else will probably find humorous as well. So my fourth grader heard that you passed away, and her teacher takes prayer requests every morning. And so her teacher was taking prayer requests, and my fourth grader doesn't like to participate or raise her hand. And the teacher called on her and she panicked. And so her panic prayer request was for Zach's family, because my dad has a podcast and this guy on his podcast died yesterday. So then when we found out that Zach's not dead, my fourth grader panicked because, oh no, do I have to go in and tell everybody it wasn't real?
Zach said, I'm sorry to Rustin and Evan. Zach, you ain't got to worry about nothing, man. That wasn't your fault.
No, you didn't do anything.
We're just sorry that you're having to go back and, tell people that this other person was essentially impersonating your sister.
Yep.
It's just the fault is with the impersonator for sure. So I'm sorry, man, that your account got hacked like that, and that, I'm glad you got all your credentials changed and stuff now. So but we're just glad you're okay, buddy. Jeff said, I'm glad Zach's okay, but I want you guys to keep the money for the show. We appreciate that, Jeff, very much, but we are certainly willing to send it back to you. We want to be above board too, so we're certainly willing to send it back. Robert said, keep mine, super chat. Love your guys, doing a great job. Well, we appreciate that so much, Robert. But like I said, we are certainly want to send that back to, just be, above board, but we do appreciate that so much. The only thing you see said, all right, Zach's other crazy girlfriend's head to bed. She's sleepy, so she's like, good night, guys. Good night. The only thing you see is good to see you again. Tony said, Zach, we did have a moment of silence. We sure did. We sure did. And Zach did say that he was very touched by what he got to see. Volstheim said Tennessee's going to make this a game, and I can't wait. I hope you're right, man. I would love that.
I hope so, but they're going to have to turn it over a lot. Like they're going to have to show up and stumble around some.
Rain said the media all claim Tennessee's going to get blown out, but I really think our guys play different in Neyland. They do. Agreed. He said, let's be honest, Georgia's played one true away game, and they almost lost that. So they played at Vanderbilt, and they played at Auburn. They almost lost at Auburn. There was a one possession game at Vanderbilt in the fourth quarter at one point.
It's kind of crazy that they're 9-0 and they've only played 2 road games.
So one of the things about that, somebody said this in it, and I can't remember who it was, man. I wish I could remember it, but they were right on the money. It is so bizarre that Georgia, when they just annihilate a team, it's almost a compliment to that team that they got amped up enough for the game that they cared and actually played their best game, which resulted in a blowout. That's what happened to Tennessee last year.
Yeah.
They're just coasting along, just beating everybody by just showing up, basically. They finally had a game where it's the first game in history, I think, where it was a number one team versus number one team, number one college football playoff ranking versus number one AP poll. And they finally got pumped up for a game and just came out and dominated. Same thing happened last week against Ole Miss. That was a compliment to Ole Miss that Georgia blew them out like that because it showed that they cared enough about that game and got pumped up enough for it that they cared. Otherwise, they just show up and coast and win.
Yeah. I said 9-0. I mean 10-0. It's crazy that they've played 10 games and only 2 of them are on the road.
And I mean, there may have been, then they had a neutral site with
Florida. But that doesn't, it's almost like a home game. I mean, they've got 50,000 people there on their side. I mean,
half the stadium.
And Raines is right. He said that Vanderbilt is a home for them, in my opinion. Yeah, Vanderbilt's a home game for everybody but Vanderbilt. I mean, if you saw pictures, the Auburn, honestly, the Auburn game was embarrassing. Like that whole stadium was Auburn fans. There were no Vanderbilt fans there at all.
Tony said that Auburn game against Georgia was early in the season. Doesn't mean much now. Yeah, that's a fair point. Let's see. I think I missed one. I'm going to go back to those other questions that we starred because there were a few really good questions that came through. But I felt like I missed one somewhere along through there. If I missed it, I apologize. Let's see here. So the only thing you see said, so what is this I'm hearing about our ticket sales for this game? So here's what's going on. Right now on Twitter, which I'm gonna say this just as a general public service announcement. Please, if you see somebody offering tickets on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, please be extremely careful purchasing tickets from anybody online that is not a verified, site like StubHub or Ticketmaster. I would go so far to say is please do not buy tickets from anyone online unless it is Ticketmaster or StubHub or Vivid Seats or something like that, because without printable tickets, with all digital stuff now, it is extremely easy for someone to scam people to get money and never ever send them a ticket.
And never get
because
caught.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Because they could say, yeah, you send me the money and then I'll send you the ticket. I'm not going to send you the ticket till you send me the money, because then you may never send me the money. Well, the flip side of that's also true. When you send them the money, they may never send you a ticket because they ain't got a ticket to send you anyway. Like, that's the thing. We know a guy personally, actually. I think it was last season. It happened to him. $300 gone because he tried to buy tickets from somebody online. They didn't have them. It was a total scam. I mean, you got to be careful. Got to be careful. But so I say that because on Twitter, you're seeing all these different people on Twitter saying, I have tickets for sale. I have tickets for sale. Well, here's the thing. They might actually not have tickets for sale. I'm sure many of them do, but some of them probably don't. And they see a opportunity here with all these other people saying, oh, we do have tickets for sale. And they're like, oh yeah, I've got tickets for sale as well. I got tickets for sale too. And they're just riding that wave of what's going on, when really they don't, because they just know everybody's looking for tickets. And so who knows how many tickets are actually being sold right now online. What the only thing you see is referring to is, unfortunately, a lot of people, there's ideas going around Twitter that people are selling their tickets to Georgia fans, and they feel like there's going to be a lot of red and black in that stadium, and a lot of barking human beings in that stadium on Saturday afternoon, because they're afraid people are selling their tickets to Georgia fans. Well, what we don't know is ultimately the bottom line, because we don't know if those ticket sales are actually legit or not. Could just be people scamming people and stealing money from them. But I would say, if you do have tickets and you are selling, first of all, I'm going to say it again: please don't buy tickets from people online. I'm begging you, don't. Just don't, because I mean it's a setup for disaster, honestly, unless it's like StubHub, or because that's the thing. Those people can resell their tickets through StubHub or Vivid Seats or Ticketmaster. Yeah, they got to pay them a fee, but it's a benefit to the buyer because there's buyer protection involved there. So, if people are selling their tickets, please don't sell them to Georgia fans. Tennessee needs every single person in orange that they can possibly get in that building this Saturday, being as loud as they possibly can to mess up Georgia's offense as much as we can. That's what needs to happen. Daniel said, do you guys think that Joe trying to read slows it down, or they're just trying to give the defense more time? So here's my answer to that.
Trying to read what?
I guess the defense. And then Tennessee's just trying to give their own defense more time to rest on the sideline. So I get that about wanting to give Tennessee's defense more time to rest. Tennessee, though, the way they accomplish that is by having a dude fake an injury after an extra point. That's how they accomplish that. They can buy their defense a good 2 to 3 minutes, while a guy lays on the field and then slowly stands up and slowly walks off the field. It happened 3 times against UConn. That's how they accomplish that. I think that the reason they're going slow is because they're trying to, evaluate the situation, come up with the best play call. But unfortunately, as we've seen, they play better when they're going faster. I mean, I don't see how anybody can look at this entire season and say, when Tennessee's going as fast as they can, they're playing one way, and then when they slow it down, they start playing another way. I don't see how anybody can look at that and say, no, they're doing better when they're going faster. Yeah. Like, I mean, it is undeniable they play better when they're going as fast as they can. So I hope they keep doing it. I hope they don't slow it down this week. So Zach said, yeah, so that's another advantage to Tennessee, because Carson Beck hasn't seen a crowd like Tennessee, because he hasn't been on the road except for like Auburn. And that was a day game. And so, I mean, I agree. Carson Beck has never played in an environment where it is as loud as it will be tomorrow night. And not tomorrow, Saturday.
I'm sure all our games to Friday.
I know it. I'm sure that Sanford Stadium has been very loud at times this year, but not when Carson Beck's on the field. They're silent when he's on the field so that he can communicate.
Yeah.
It's going to be totally different. Going to be totally different when he's on offense and the opposing fan is trying to get to him. Dester said, cost me $650 for LSU game. They delivered them after the game started, and I went through Ticketmaster. Wow, man, I'm so sorry.
That's not good.
I am so sorry. So even Ticketmaster messed up on that one. Man, I'm so sorry. Vols Time said, knowing Lane Kiffin, he's probably selling tickets to this game. Yeah, absolutely. Carl just joined us really late to the party. Welcome, Carl. Carl, there's an announcement you need to see, buddy. When we finish the live stream, you need to go back and watch the first 5 minutes of the show, okay, buddy? I need you to see that. So just trust me on that one.
Very important for you.
Yeah. Let's see. Rain said, ironically, this is the biggest game of Joe Milton III's career. He's on the fence of draftability, and a win against Georgia could get him drafted. Okay, so that's a good question. Or a good statement, I mean. So I think here's my thought. I think there's a lot of time between the end of the season and the NFL draft.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that time, all these bad memories of Joe from NFL scouts are all going to magically disappear when they start watching him do his vertical leap and his shuttle time and his 40 time and when he throws the ball. Exactly. All of a sudden, those things, they're going to say, well, I can change him. we can coach him. And it's going to be the same thing. Hey, Carl, you the man. But I mean, it's going to be the same thing we saw this year with Anthony Richardson. Joe's going to get drafted probably. Exactly. They're going to say, I can fix him. That's exactly right. Because they're going to see, like Rustin said earlier, the magic word is measurables. They're going to see that and they're going to be like, man, this guy's a freak of nature. He's incredible. Because that's what we were saying, right? I mean, that's what we were saying. And they're going to see it. And Oreo Puppy Dog just hit the nail on the head. He said Joe's going to have a great combine. That's exactly right. You want all those records that Anthony Richardson set this year with vertical leap and stuff like that. Joe's going to break all those.
Yep.
And so he's going to be the talk of the combine because people are going to be like, this dude is a physical specimen.
Season and games don't matter. Anthony Richardson was the 4th overall pick after Florida went 6 and 7. They just don't care. It has nothing to do with the season.
Daniel said, a little tongue-in-cheek action here, a little sarcasm. He said, I hope Joe sits out the bowl game. He can't risk his draft status. Let's see. Jeff said, I think part of it is second-guessing about why they can slow down. I think part of it is second-guessing play calling due to personnel issues as compared to last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sure. They're having to think a little bit more, say, okay, well, we know that, this guy on this side of the line has really got a bum knee right now, but we've ran it to that side of the line twice already. They're having to think about it a little bit more. Carl said he got his Volbros coffee cup and everything school shirt. That's what I'm talking about, Carl. You are the man. You are the man, Carl. You know what? I'm going to share my screen real quick because while we're talking about it, so if you were to go to our website right now, just like Carl did, and you go to shop up here in the top right corner, look at all of these beautiful, beautiful items that you can purchase. This is the Everything School shirt that Carl got. Man, look at that Summit Blue. How about that? Everything School. Look at that. That's gorgeous. And then Carl also got a coffee mug. I think he said he got the Volbros mug. Look, you can get the Everything School coffee mug too. Carl got him this awesome Volbros mug. That's what I'm talking about. I will say this: we got my father-in-law this for Christmas last year. It is a really nice mug. Like, objectively speaking, I'm not saying that because we made it, but it's a big mug. Like, it's pretty sweet. I like it. So thevolbros.com, everybody can check that out and click on shop. It'll be a great time. Let's see. We appreciate you, Carl. Let's see. Tony said, I know it's early to talk recruiting. No, it's not, buddy. That's a year-round thing. We'll talk about that anytime. He said, but I really like Jake Merklinger. Yes. Here's what that reminds me of, what that situation reminds me of. Josh Heupel's first 2 years in the SEC as an offensive play caller and coordinator was at Missouri. His quarterback, Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Jake Merklinger, Drew Lock 2.0.
Yeah. Seriously, you watch their highlight reels side by side, you feel like you're watching the same player.
Yeah, I mean, that's if Josh Heupel can have the number one offense in the country or SEC back-to-back seasons with Drew Lock at quarterback and a much weaker Missouri team than they have now, then yeah, I mean, I've got no doubt that he can get what he wants out of anybody out there. And that's why I think, Joe is the person right now, because he sees that Joe's their best option.
Yeah.
Rain said, thoughts on who would play quarterback in a potential bowl game, Joe?
I think it'll be Joe. I think it'll be Joe, but I think they'll intentionally find excuses to get Nico some reps. I think he'll see some live snaps. The beauty of it is Gaston Moore's still got a COVID year. So, Jake Merklinger can come in, red shirt, while Nico's the starter. Gaston can be the backup just in case. And then when Gaston graduates, Nico's the starter again. Merk is the backup. There's that 2-year gap in between. Nico then goes to the NFL. Merk becomes the starter. But George McIntyre was on campus redshirting. Now he becomes the starter. There's a 2-year gap. Like, they've set it up to where they always have 2 really good quarterbacks on campus at the same time moving forward. And guys that, they're very confident in.
And, I want to emphasize what Rustin said there about Merklinger redshirting. He needs to, because he needs to put on some weight.
Yeah.
But also understand by redshirting, you can still play in 4 games.
Yeah.
So just because he's redshirting, that doesn't mean that he doesn't get to play the whole season. I mean, you think about like the 4, what am I thinking of? FCS. I couldn't think of FCS. You think about the 4. Yeah, Carl just had a good little comment there. I'll put it on the screen here in a second. You think about the 4 FCS games they have each year. At least 3. One is an FBS, a Power 5 school. So 3 FCS games per year. Well, Jake can play in all next year. He could play in all 3 of those games, plus maybe another one, and still redshirt. So I mean, like, just because we say he's redshirting, that doesn't mean we'll never see him on the field. He could still be on the field. Oh goodness, who was it? There was somebody we were talking about just the other day on this show about how they've only appeared in 3 games, and so they can still redshirt and still appear against Vanderbilt. And now I can't remember who it was that we were talking about. But I mean,
Cam Seldon, maybe.
Well, no, because he's been on Khalifa Keith. That's who it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So I mean, Khalifa's. I mean, I'm sure he's still got his red shirt intact. I think he's only made 2, maybe 3 appearances.
Yeah.
So he could play a substantial amount of time against Vanderbilt and still redshirt. Ballstone said, I don't believe Joe Milton is in fault for every bad thing that's happened this season. I totally agree, buddy. I totally agree. He is not at fault. Last week against Missouri, Joe was our entire offense. He was one of the only people that was actually producing on offense. So I totally agree with you. Carl said, I'm a bit disappointed in the shirt. Rustin looked awesome. I'm so big, man looked like an all black tractor trailer with an everything school bumper sticker. Carl, I'm sure you look fantastic in that shirt, man. I'm sure. Absolutely. He said he wants to see the Vols playing out of their minds. Do it for Dolly. Absolutely. Dolly Parton will be in the house this week. And so absolutely let's play well for her. Oh man, Daniel, you just hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel said, I'm all for the skill position recruits, but we need help in the trenches. Is Seaton a guy that could play next year? I'm not as informed as I should be on that. So I don't know. I haven't seen his highlight film or anything like that.
Not left tackle, but right tackle is a good possibility. He's not agile enough to play left tackle, but he's got the size and the wingspan to be a really good right tackle. And, as he grows and gets bigger and faster and stronger, he could eventually be a left tackle. But I could easily see him starting at right tackle as a freshman.
So if there's one place that Tennessee has to hit the transfer portal this offseason, it's offensive line. They have to.
Yeah.
Because next year you're going to have Nico starting. And you got to give that kid as much time as you can after the snap. Because, look at Jarrett Garantano. His first 2 years, he spent more time on his back than he did throwing the ball. And look what that ended up doing to him for the rest of his season. He was always, for the rest of his career, he was always, I got to get the ball out kind of stuff. Potentially causing turnovers because of that. You have to have Nico as comfortable as he possibly can be in the pocket next year, or it will not be a good year. That's why it's so important that Cooper Mays comes back. It's a big deal that Cooper comes back because Cooper would be an anchor for that offensive line. But yeah, we have to have dudes transfer in.
Yeah.
If you're a freshman, think about this. If you are a true freshman starting, especially at tackle in the SEC, you are a dude, like no doubt about it. You look at programs like Alabama and stuff like that. If they ever have a true freshman starting to tackle, which I can only think of one off the top of my head in the past several years, that dude, he's a first-round draft pick. Like you already know, he's going to be a first-round draft pick one day.
Yeah. Well, our last freshman that started, somebody in the comment just mentioned him. Our last freshman that started on the offensive line was picked in the top 10 top 10 picks of the NFL draft this past year. When you get guys who can start as a true freshman in the SEC, they become first-round NFL draft picks. And
those don't grow on trees.
No, but Jordan Seaton can be that guy. He's good enough to, like I said, I could easily see him starting at right tackle.
So yes, Daniel, I agree with you. We need guys in the trenches. That's still where the game's won or lost. It still is. It always will be. It's just the way it is. Look at last week at Missouri. If you can open up holes that are 10 feet wide for the running back to run through, you got a pretty good chance of winning. So I agree, man. Carl said Khalifa Keith was timid for as big as he is. He also, Carl said he makes dirt look good. He makes anything look good. Absolutely. Daniel said we have a couple JUCOs coming in this weekend too. That's good to know. I didn't know that. That's good.
But it's hard because JUCO kids, you don't always really know what you're getting. Like at the skill positions you do, because speed is speed, athleticism is athleticism. But in the trenches, it's really hard to know what you're getting because you just don't know what they've actually faced. And they could be a mountain of a kid, but if they've played in, some JUCO league that the rest of the conference this year was terrible and they never actually got tested, the video could be misleading. And we've had everybody's had that happen. Every SEC school has had kids they've signed out JUCO, and they're like, oh, this one's good. And then they got there and they're like, oh, no, he's not. And he never panned out. I would much rather have a grad transfer or a Power 5. I'm pissed off. My coach got fired transfer.
Texas A&M.
Yeah. Than a JUCO transfer every day of the week.
Absolutely. Tony said, I know he may play defense. We sure need help there, but got to get Boo Carter some offensive snaps. Yeah, I would not be shocked if Boo Carter turns into the next D. Williams and we see him returning kickoffs and punts. I would not be shocked by that. Dude is shifty. You need him carrying the ball some.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Balls Time said, I believe Brew McCoy can come back too. He can.
I just don't
well,
think
whether or not he will is a different story. But you're right. He could. He certainly could. Let's see. Jeff said both JUCOs are defensive tackles, and Daniel said he's got faith in Rodney Garner's scouting.
I don't doubt at all Rodney Garner's ability to identify talent. You just never know what you're really getting. Like you're taking a gamble.
Well, Jonathan Kongbo, I mean, he was an incredible athlete when he came here. I mean, he was obviously a very good player here, but he was not what everyone expected him to be.
I can't remember I can't remember the kid's name.
Out of that coin.
Go ahead.
The flip side of that coin is Byron Young. Byron Young came in and he actually ended up even better than we expected him to be. And now he's just killing it at the Rams. I mean, he's just doing an incredible job.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a coin flip. It's kind of a wild card. You never really know. I'm sure that the time demands are certainly more intense at a Division I Power 5 school than they are at a JUCO as well, as far as like your just day-to-day routine and stuff. Carl just mentioned Byron Young as well.
Yeah, I can't remember the kid's name. Several years ago, we signed a defensive lineman out of East Mississippi Community College, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. But he was the number 1 ranked JUCO defensive tackle in the country. Rarely ever stepped on the field.
Jeff made a good point. He was talking about Schrader from Missouri. He was a JUCO. I think he meant Schrader. Maybe not. I could be misspoken here. I agree with Zach. We need another wide receiver or more for Nico. That'll be interesting to see how Mike Matthews does and those guys as they come in. That'll be interesting to see. Well, this was a fun show. Zach, we're glad you're with us. Carl, that's what you need to go back.
Carl's really confused now.
Yeah, Carl would be very confused right now. So, Carl, trust us. Just go back, watch the first 5 minutes, buddy. Oreo Puppy Dog said, I can't imagine Brew and Nico together for a year. That would be awesome. Yeah, I agree. Would be.
Don't think it's going to happen, but it would be.
I hope it does. That'd be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
As we have seen, you can never have too much depth.
No.
So we hope everybody has a great evening. Carl, Zach was unfortunately the victim of someone hacking his account. And so we were all deceived by an imposter, essentially. A frustrated ex-girlfriend. So, Daniel got it.
There it is.
Daryl
Middleton.
Yep.
Never amounted to anything. Number 1 JUCO defensive tackle.
Dude was huge.
Did nothing.
He was like 6'8" and 300 something pounds. It was a big old dude. Yeah.
Highlight reel was misleading. He was dominating people, and it was East Mississippi community. So everybody's like, it's the best region in the country. He's got to be a stud. Come to find out, it was just a really down year in their region, and everybody else was terrible.
Yep, that was a good. Yep, I remember that. That was good. That was good investigative journalism there, Daniel. Good job, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Zach said, "I don't remember him at all." Exactly. That's the point, isn't it? That's the problem.
Yep,
Absolutely.
there it is.
Absolutely. So we hope everybody has a great evening. Saturday, 3:30. And I'm serious about it. It's kind of bittersweet. I know it's we don't have to listen to Gary anymore, but this is the last time that we will ever hear that theme music for a Tennessee football game. That's sad.
This is the last time I will ever mute that game after the theme music.
Da, 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 da. It's it's been a staple. It's an icon. It'll be Vols Time, we appreciate that very much. We appreciate that so much. You were the man, Vols Time. Thank you. Zach said, "Good night, Vol Bros. Love you, fam." We love you too, Zach. We're glad you're with us, man.
Carl, you're alive.
Yeah. So, Carl, just so you know, Zach was out of town on a business trip because he recently got promoted at work. Well, his ex-girlfriend logged into his account and was essentially trying to mess up his life and telling people falsely that he had passed away. And so, Carl, just so you know, we've already told everybody else, but the money that you gave as a super chat that night, just email me. We'll get it straightened out. We'll send it back to you via Venmo or whatever we need to do. But we'll get it back to you. So, Zach, Carl, we appreciate that. Carl, $10. Zach is back. Absolutely. We appreciate that very much, Carl. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Too funny.
But honestly, the best news of the day is that Zach is still here. Zach, we love you, buddy.
I'm not going to share with everybody all the examples of ways to announce that I sent Evan this week because I thought it would have been a lot of fun to play with, but he decided we would just talk about it. But there were lots of stuff with zombies. It was that we could have done all that.
Yeah. Good times. Good times that Zach's back with us. That's a good thing for sure. So we hope everybody has a great evening. Hope everybody has a really good Friday. And man, oh man, Saturday rolls around. It's going to be rocking stadium for sure. Huge game. If for nothing else, well, I appreciate that, Carl. Thank you, man. I do appreciate that. Vols Time said thumbs up. Zach said he would have liked the zombie stuff. But huge game. Last time ever we'll ever have a CBS intro theme song for Tennessee. So end of an era, quite honestly. It's an end of an era because we don't know what it's going to be like next year. Next year is when the CBS moves to the Big Ten. And so
and now they have to deal with Gary Danielson.
That's true. That's very true. But ABC will be taking over the SEC game of the week next year. And so, we'll be curious to see how that sounds and feels. But Jeff said, thanks, guys. Thank you, Jeff. We really appreciate you. Zach is back. Falls by 50 now. Oreo Puppy Dog said, awesome show, guys. Hey, we really appreciate that so much. Y'all know we love this. We love talking Tennessee stuff, and it's so much fun. So we hope everybody has a great evening, and we will see everybody Sunday night, 9:00 right here, 9:00 Eastern, hopefully celebrating the win. So you're telling me there's a chance. Unfortunately, as long as hopefully we're celebrating the win. Carl said, thanks, guys. So appreciate having resting. Hey, we appreciate you, Carl. Thank you so much, man. Dester said, the Big Ten are so lucky to have Gary now. Yeah. Let's see. Jeff said, "Don't break my heart. No Gary involves to play. Don't play good on CBS." That's true. I get it. That's true. Absolutely. Typically, they don't play good on CBS because they're typically playing a really good team, though. That's also part of it. Georgia, Alabama, Missouri last week, that kind of thing. Carl said, "Bye-bye, Daniels." No more Jalen Meaves-Rabin calls, or no more D. Williams being called Squirrel White.
A couple of weeks ago, I didn't hear it live because I'm muting, but a couple of weeks ago, I heard a replay, and he was diagnosing a coverage, and he was calling it a coverage that hasn't existed since the 1970s. And you're going, literally no one talks like this anymore. There's nothing you're saying right now that's current.
Was it
drives
Tim
me
Davis? Nuts. Is that what he was calling Tim Banks? Tim Davis?
Yeah.
Carl says Sunday night Dolly victory. Absolutely, man. Hey, we're gonna get a W for Dolly. She'll be in the building. So we hope everybody has a great evening. Go Vols, and we will see you all Sunday night.